Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Hair Like Hers podcast, where we talk all about women's hair health and wellness with leading professionals from the medical, wellness, nutrition, and fitness industries. I'm your host, Shab Caspara, NYC celebrity trichologist and hair health expert, and the founder of Leona.co, the first retail platform matching and guiding women with the best hair growth solutions from around the world. Wherever you are in your hair and health journey, you can be rest assured there is something for everyone on this show. You can follow me at Shab Hair Expert on IG, TikTok, and YouTube. Please show your support by sharing this show with your friends and family or leaving a review on whichever platform you're listening from. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the show. Karen Pudetti, welcome to the Hair Like Hers podcast. You have an incredible story of how you started and grew your business and have a course to help others and wrote this inspirational book, which I can't wait to get my hands on. We have a lot of valuable advice beauty professionals can gain from. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today.
It's so exciting to have you. We have a very different angle, a very different subject and topic that we're covering today that so many people stand to gain from. Professionals in the beauty industry. We have a lot of consumers and professionals that listen to this show. So I can't wait, even for myself, to kind of get to all these goodies. First thing that I want to start off with is, where does a stylist begin if they want to go off on their own to start their business? They reach the pinnacle of their career, or they feel like they're really in a good place, or they're tired of just working for someone. Where do they begin if they're ready for the next move?
If they're ready for the next move, meaning they've been in the industry 4 or 5 years, so they learn a lot about the industry, particularly from where they are, they have a full clientele, then my next suggestion is, I know the sweet things is pretty big, and it's kind of like a pendulum. For a while, the sweets are big, and then it will go back to the bigger places or smaller places where they're bringing in more education and things of that nature. So it kind of goes back and forth. If you're going to open your own place, make sure you're with a hairline that believes in education and is going to support that. A lot of the problems with individuals going into suites or even the hairdressers that say, I'm just going to work out of my house. I call them the kitchen cutters. What happens is they stop their education altogether. So whatever they learned the last time they took classes, that's it. That will shoot yourself in the foot because everybody else will continue to learn and you're just kind of done. So that's one. You want to keep learning. A lot of times, the bigger the line, the more education. They want to see that there's a couple stylists. They don't want the onesie twosies. At that
go with
point,
the biggest brand that you can possibly get.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always the ultimate goal because they're going to give you stuff. So, and nowadays, like before, they used to give you samples and try this and try that. They don't do that like they used to. Now it's like, okay, you could buy a sample and we'll give you a couple, you can try it, but we'll probably get it back from you. In your own head, each one's got to decide what is your ultimate goal? Is it education? Is it being the owner with several stylists? Or do you just want your own little thing and you come and do what you want? And maybe the best product line, or the biggest, I should say, won't be for you, but there's another one available. So it's where you want to see your future. And a lot of people are very, very different in that.
What do they do? Like, do they open a salon or do they open a salon suite, right? Because there's two options in these salon suites, especially here in Manhattan. They're blowing up everywhere. And it's a fairly new business structure here in the city because it was primarily all hair salons, but now these salon suites are everywhere. How does one decide whether they want to just go on and open a full-blown salon or if they want to continue in the suite?
I truly believe that the suite owners right now, they see owners always making money. They're like, whatever that wash and style and cut was, they're getting, 50% of it. I want more money. That's how the individuals think. So they feel like they can go to the suites and do that. A couple of things. Insurance is a lot less for an individual, and generally they're not getting insurance on the place or their suite itself. So A lot of people like that, but there's definitely trade-offs. You will see the suites are going to be huge, and they've been really big on the West Coast, and now they're on this coast as well, and into smaller areas as well. So that is becoming a thing. I think over time, individuals who are great at marketing themselves will be okay, but most large companies, spas and salons, they'll do the marketing, the branding, the Facebook, the Instagram for you. And now these people are doing it. Right now, it's a big fad. I'll bet in 5 years, there'll be half of what there is today. And a lot of people will go back to, I like working with a group. I like being able to consult with another employee to say, what do you think? She is, box dye in her head, then she turned it green. So I think right now the suites are huge. I think it will come back the other way.
That's a really interesting point. Like, I grew up in the hairdressing industry in my mom's salons, and I definitely did see the challenges and struggles behind operating a hair salon, and just how difficult it really is. And the margins in that type of business model are really slim when it comes down to everything and all your costs and managing all your staff and all that. So I've definitely seen that side of it. It is a really interesting point that you bring up. I was working in hair salons in Manhattan, and I got to the point where I was doing really well, and I was kind of maxing out my schedule. So I kind of hit the ceiling, right? Basically, because you can only work so many hours and see so many clients. And these salon suites were popping up everywhere. And I went with a coworker of mine to actually check one out because he was at the time considering switching over to a salon suite. And I can definitely see the pros and cons. You don't have all that overhead that you would if you were a salon owner. You are obviously running a smaller operation, which I think is going to limit itself and just in itself, right? Some people want a space that offers more in terms of the client. But that's such a good point that you brought up, is that you do need to have really strong marketing to sustain your business by yourself versus the presence of a hair salon that just brings in people for you. I think that's such a good point. That's a good way to kind of differentiate and make sure like you know what you're doing going off on your own. And then I think also
Yeah,
the same thing with like working from home. We really loved it in the beginning, and it was really great to make the shift. And then at some point people were like, I kind of miss coworkers and I miss being around other people. So really good point you bring up there.
Yeah, and as time goes on, if you're I see this a lot nowadays that people get out of school and they think, well, I'm gonna go get my own suite right away, and they don't have really any experience. And those ones within the year will be looking to work at a bigger place because they really don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to market, but they say, well, I get all the money. It's great. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I also think about the client themselves. How long will they be enjoying that experience for before they want to go back to the salon environment also?
So Aveda did this trial and error thing a few years ago. As people went into the suites, they did a study of how many people would follow their hairdresser to the new suite. And they, on average, it was like 75% of them would follow once just to find out where they went, why they're there, what they're doing. 75% of them would go back to their original, like for instance, wherever they were before, which had, if it had hair, nails, aesthetics, massage, microblading, all that. They will go back to that because of the ease of all of it, and they can get several services at once.
Yeah. The one-stop shop.
Yep, there's been a few different studies that have kind of shown that.
What is the first thing a struggling salon owner should stop and do right now?
If they're struggling, they need to stop making any decisions that aren't based on their financials. They need to look at their P&L if they have it. You'd be shocked at how many don't have it or in the balance sheet, and really see where they currently are. Most people who are in the hair industry are phenomenal at what they do, but they have zero education, experience running a really good business. So immediately get a bookkeeper, get an accountant, so you can look and see every dollar coming into that business and every dollar leaving that business and where you are. Most 9 out of 10 times they're in the red.
So find out what you don't know.
Yep, absolutely. And one of the things I tell everybody, if you're great at hair and extensions or whatever part it is, do that. and find experts to do the things around you. Because if you're going to try to do the hair and then run the business and figure out P&Ls, you're wasting your time. And you're great and successful at that one piece. Find others who are just as successful on the other pieces.
This is a perfect segue to the next question I wanted to ask you. Who are the essential people a successful salon requires to help run the business?
If you're going to run a really well-oiled machine type of business, you definitely want different people doing different things. So first of all, you're going to have somebody on your front desk all the time, someone to check people in, bring them to where they're sitting, coffee, tea, make sure they're comfortable. So you have your front desk people. And then when they're checking out, always making sure they rebook right then and there, because that's a huge thing. And assisting in the products that they should be buying for their type of hair. The other thing is a manager, somebody who's running the operations. And it doesn't matter if you have 2 stylists or 20, you definitely need somebody who is running and doing all that. And that also includes, if they don't do marketing, getting a part-time person who does the marketing or the branding or can do both. So there's that. I would say get an overall operations person and get someone who's in the marketing and branding area to do that, and have a whole calendar put together for the entire year. So those are it. And again, the more hairstyles you have, the more other things you have. Then are you going to have an apprentice and things of that matter? But I think those are your first and foremost things. And then again, somebody who's looking at the financials and can help the owner make smart financial decisions.
What are the current pay increases and pay structures that are going on in salons? What's the current rate? Maybe we can talk a little bit about this. It's obviously different all over the country, and depending on which cities you're in, obviously business expenses differ and all that.
Couple of rule of thumbs. First of all, the bigger the place, usually you get a lower commission. And the reason being is they've already succeeded at being a successful business. They have clients coming in. They know their P&L. They have a good marketing and branding. They're already up and established. So really you're going into a business that already knows how to run a really good business. And if you're a newbie, that is your best bet to even if you want to go on your own someday, because you learn so much. A lot of the little places where you go and they say, oh, you're going to be the only, one of 2 stylists, and you're going to have to do your work, but here's your station and here's some supplies, like back bar supplies. There is going to be a lot more because they're leaving it up to you. So it really depends a lot on that. For us, I love when people say, I want to raise because I can't pay my bills. Okay. Well, first of all, then I want to sit down with you and go over all your financial stuff. And I actually have a class for my newbies, so they understand their own finances. And so
You
they
mean
understand.
with your staff?
Yes, I
Wow.
have a 20-page packet that as they come in, and they can be any age, and if someone's older and they don't want to do it, that's fine. And it's not because I want to get into their knowing their stuff, but I want particularly young people to know what they're bringing in, what are all their expenses. I had a girl once say, oh, I don't have any money for food. I go, really? She goes, yeah. I go, how much did that tattoo just cost you? And silly things like that. So it's not that they don't have the money, it's they spend it differently than probably they should. But yeah, I do have a course for them, and it helps them set themselves up for retirement and thinking about that in their 20s or 30s, and how much they want to put away every year. So my staff at the end of every year, they'll write out what they want to make next year, and we work into it backwards to make sure they get there.
I think that's incredible. That's definitely not something I've ever encountered in the beauty industry from any business owner. I absolutely love that because we don't get the education. It's not built into our work. No one's asking us about our plans and our finances. And I absolutely love that, Karen. What a great example you're setting for all the different salon owners out there. All right,
Well,
it's like take care of your people.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, I had 2 years ago, I had 3 girls in their 20s buy houses because they said, I want to buy a house. And I mean, they're cute houses too. And they said, how do I get there? And we kind of set up a plan and make sure they got there, and they did.
Go work for Karen, everybody. We'll get to all that info. I have a feeling you're going to get an influx of resumes. Okay, your book, Rags to Riches, How Beauty Icons Made It Big. It's a very unique book. You obviously interviewed a bunch of these different professionals in the beauty industry. What are the top 3 best pieces of advice from these professionals in your book that you could share with us?
First, you have to have determination and a drive. You know, these people, and most of them started out very humble and struggling, family struggling. They knew they wanted to make it big in the hair or grooming or whatever industry, and they systematically went after it. So they would write down their goals for the 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, where they wanted to be. And they wrote out, okay, this is my goal, but these are the steps I need to take to get there. And they were always working the plan, always. So first and foremost, that is it. Because it's kind of like a diet. You know, you always say, I want to lose weight, but if you're not really tracking anything or doing anything, another month goes by and you're like, oh, I still want to lose weight, and nothing's happened. So you really got to put it down and strategize and then see if it's working or not. So that would be one. The second one is know all your money. Again, I said that before, it's so important in our industry and it's so overlooked because you see a lot of cash or you see a lot of money coming in and you're just paying this person and this person, and this person. Know all the money coming in, know all the money going out. And you have to set your margins for like 20% profit. So you can't just wait and say, oh, shoot, I lost 10,000 last month. You want to build it into your price and into everything else. So you end up making a profit. And then the other thing, I see too many young people want to rack them, stack them, pack them. You really, really need to know your niche client. And I mean, like in the book, there is a whole chapter on it and it goes over probably 75 different things to find out who your niche client is or wants to be, and go after that, and then build relationships. Before, I think, like in the beauty salons, you know, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, they would really go in and build relationships. Nowadays, I do believe that some people are so focused on the money, they forget about the relationships and what they're doing and why they're doing it.
You mean with their actual customers?
Look, I tell my staff, always pretend that is your only customer, your only client today, and that client, you want to marry her son. So you are going to treat her like gold in every way, and that's how I want you to treat all your clients.
Oh my gosh, that's making me laugh. That's just that's a perfect example to use. I can't tell you how many times over the course of my career my clients tried to set me up with their sons. So I was doing something right, Karen.
See, that's a good
by
thing.
your standards.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
Treat every customer like they're the ultimate VIP.
yep.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it shows, and you're going to have a very loyal clientele.
I love that advice. And I feel like maybe at times it could be a lot easier said than done, just because, you know, when you have that schedule that's crazy, you're working all day, standing on your feet from morning to night, and it's just, you're stacked and it's back to back. It's really difficult. Like I was very passionate about my work, and I still am to this day. Like I can't do something if I'm not passionate about it. And I genuinely have to care about what I'm doing and about the person I'm doing it for. But, you know, you do get burnt out. You know,
You do.
you're working so hard. And I think it's obviously a good reminder to remember why it is you're doing it, and bringing your best self forward. But sometimes that gets really hard.
You know, one of the things I tell my staff when you get a client, and I don't care if it's a brand new client or someone you've seen for 15, 20 years, we bring your chair over and you sit facing them. And you always start off, I want to have a really good consultation with you. That way, it's like a timeout. We'll catch up in a minute. Now, the client is already in tune to, oh, this is a consultation. She's sitting down. So she's not behind me, you know, touching the hair. And you just kind of go through questions like, when was the last time you loved your hair? What don't you like about your hair? What do you want to see different? If we could perform miracles, what would it be? and kind of just start sitting and asking questions. It kind of makes the client decompress and even the stylist sit there for a moment and really start focusing, honing in on new client. What do they want? What are they looking for? Your hair looks a little dry. We definitely, you know what I mean? So I always tell my staff to get the chair, sit down, and I want you to spend like 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes just talking about your hair, what they're using, the products, the brush. And if they come every 4 weeks, say do the same thing. Every 6 weeks, same thing. And I always say, if you do that, you won't have a client leave unhappy. If you have a client who leaves unhappy, you didn't hit the consultation. There's something lacking in your consultation.
Those are such great questions, by the way, the examples that you gave. And
Yeah.
I think you really do stand out when you take the time to do these consultations because not everyone does it. Everyone's just trying to rush
Yeah.
through the clients and get them done and out. And 7 to 8 minutes is a solid amount of time for consultation.
And you know what? If you went to salons and spas and say, oh, did they do a consultation? 9 out of 10 times, they'll go, no, they never did a consultation because they don't recognize you standing behind them as a consultation if you're taking your time. But
Right.
when you say the word consultation, actually sit down like eye level. So we're going to talk about your hair.
Yeah.
It's a totally different thing. It's silly how big a difference it makes, but people love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean,
That's part of it.
just think about like getting that attention from your dermatologist, from your doctor. They don't even do that.
No?
They're also
Mm-mm.
standing above you and talking to you.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I like that. Kind of sit, same level as them. And I feel like that would also bring down your customer's guard and allow them to open up a little bit more because,
Yeah,
half
they
the
feel
time they're concealing things even from the professional.
oh, yeah. Yes, a lot of times. Did you use box dye? No, really, I didn't.
Right.
Okay. But if you're
Right.
sitting
Yeah.
outside, yeah, yeah, they're much more open and they just feel so much more comfortable.
I love that you're encouraging your staff to also do that and that you're saying it's okay, like carve this time out and really nurture that relationship. That's enough. We don't have enough people doing that. That's for sure. I mean, even when I was working in the salon as a hairstylist, I always had my stool, right? My like rolling kind of
Yeah,
chair. And I would always sit down right next to them when they came in.
yeah,
And I'd be like, let's chat. And even though they were my sixth weeker, I would ask them the same questions.
yeah,
How are we
yeah,
doing? How has it been? What are we thinking? What are we feeling? And even they're just like, Shab, it's totally fine. Just start cutting. Like let's go get washed or whatever. Like even they're like, no, 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 we're cool, whatever you want. And I would still make sure we had that because I also really believe in the value in that consultation. So
yeah.
can't
The
say it
the
enough.
value is huge, and that honestly makes you stand above hundreds of people.
Agreed.
So yeah, yeah,
In such a competitive space too, like wouldn't you want to do everything to really stand out and make that person think, wow, she hasn't even started doing my hair and this is already such a different experience.
right, absolutely, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your course. I think it's so cool that you made this course. Tell us a little bit about it. What kinds of things can beauty professionals expect to learn from it?
The book was exciting and interesting about stories, the assessments, and some education, some things to do. But then I kept thinking, if I wanted to put everything in the book, it would have been way too much. And so I thought, okay, I want to do like a how-to course. So it's a modular course. Each chapter of the book, like if it's about figuring out your niche, expanding branding, marketing, P&Ls, is one chapter. And I dive down into it and I give you an even bigger assessment. And it goes right into teaching people. So, and it's step by step. So anything I've used in my business, any strategies, procedures, benchmarks, and anything I've used with my consulting clients around the United States is in this course. So for instance, I have my entire marketing calendar for a year in there. I have the worksheets I give my staff. I'm a numbers girl. So my staff every week fills out a weekly recap and we take that and we put it into a yearly recap. So at any time I can see their sales numbers for the year or for the quarter. I can see the retail sales, the number of products, their average price ticket, their average retail ticket, the percentage booked. And so when they come into me and say, I want to raise because I've been here 3 months, take the paper and I'll say, well, you're only 46% booked. Your rebooking is only at 42. In order to get to that next level, and I have all the levels printed out, this is where you really need to be. So they can tell me they're coming to work on time every day, but that doesn't mean they should get a raise.
Okay.
So we do stuff of that nature, but all of that is in the course. And so as much as I could give, show, explain, I wanted people to be able to take that course and wherever they are, if they're startup, if they're hitting the 250,000 mark, a 500,000 mark, or they want to hit the 1 million, there's enough information. If they do everything, they'll be able to hit it.
And is it ideally for a salon owner, or are you having other people take it also?
It's great for any salon, spa, laser, med spa. It's great for that. I've had several people who have come to me and said, I want to take this. That's not my industry. And I said, the thing is, it's a business. And if a business, you have P&Ls, you have marketing, you have branding, you have to figure out how to increase your sales. So it's all there. So it doesn't really matter the business.
Mm-hmm.
It more so is this is how to run a really successful business.
Mm-hmm. So you've obviously built a lot, done a lot. When was it, was there a pivotal moment that changed your approach to running your business? What was the biggest lesson you learned from experience itself?
One is it was something that happened that had to make me rebound. So I am a type A personality, do this, do that, do this, kind of quick and fast. And I actually pissed off enough of my employees that I had to walk out of like 8 or 10 people all within 1 week. And I love these people. To this day, like if I see them out, they'll come and hug me and I'll hug them and stuff like that. But at the time, it was more about my leadership. And after that, I decided, oh my God, I got to figure this out. I can never have this happen again. Why did this happen? And I went and took a class, and it was about communication and leadership. The first exercise we did, there was me over here and my staff over here, meaning I'm quick, get it done, quick to decide. And they are feeling, loving, touching, and stuff like that. So we were polar opposites. So when we talk, we were completely opposite. So then I had to decide, like, okay, I go back, I have my staff do it, and I realized that I need to change some ways in dealing with them, and they needed to change a little bit so we can communicate and all be on the same level and get the things we want to happen. So that was a bad thing that happened, but in hindsight, it was one of the best things. And then during the pandemic, when I had a lot of clients calling me from around the United States, what should we do? What should we do? And there was the unknown. And I just said, there's nothing we can do. We're going to have to ride it out, pray, hope, and take this time to look back at your business. What was working? What wasn't working? What could we do better? And I kind of started doing that. And that's when I said, I want to do more for our industry. Our industry, we have a lot of great people, but they're not making the money they deserve. What can I do to really change our industry? And that's when the book and then the course came about.
And thank goodness for that. It sounds like there's just so much
Yeah.
to gain from this. I love that you've created a resource like this and you have the experience to back it with, and you've gathered information from other professionals and their experiences, which is even better.
I have to say that they are some huge icons, like Anka. She used to get called from the Jonas Brothers every 10 days, so wherever they were in the world, to go get their haircut by her, and they'd fly her out. Barbara, who was a top model in Paris, then as she got older, she became a groomer. She's Tom Hanks' groomer. Damone Roberts, the eyebrow guru, does everybody's eyebrows, like Rihanna, Beyonce, Oprah. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So everybody has huge star power, and their stories are pretty cool.
Where can people find your book and your course, Karen?
Well, you can go to www.iconicriches.com, rags to riches, and the course is www.iconicriches, rags to riches in action, the course.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to put all the links and everything that people need to find you, your course, and your book in the show notes. This was amazing, Karen. Thank you so much. You are a wealth of knowledge. I really appreciate this. And I have to say, I have so much respect for a business owner like you. Applying your knowledge, the way in which you're doing it, with the way you're respecting your staff, the way you are respecting the business and industry itself. We just need so many more salon owners like that. So I want to thank you as someone from the industry that has worked for so many different people. You know, I wish I had a boss like you that was really setting a good example and that I could respect fully because they were respecting me as the staff and the business itself. So I absolutely love what you're doing, and it was really great to have you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a wonderful time. It was wonderful meeting you. And good luck to all that you're doing.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you've heard and you can think of a few other women to share this podcast with, please do leave me a quick review in whichever platform you're listening from. And if you have any recommendations or comments, email me at grow@hairlikehers.co or follow me at hairlikehers podcast on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.